Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 24. धृतातनोरुषति मे पुराणी येनेह सत्वं परमं पवित्रम् शमोदम सत्यमनुग्रहश्च तपस्तितिक्षानुभवश्च यत्र Dhrita, maintained by transcendental education. Tanuh, body. Ushati, free from material contamination. Me, my. Purani, eternal. Yena, by whom. Iha, in this material world. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Paramam, supreme. Pavitram, purified. Shamaha, control of the mind. Damaha, control of the senses. Satyam, truthfulness. Anugraha, mercy. Cha, and tapaha, austerity. Titiksha, tolerance. Anubhavaha, realization of God and the living entity. Cha, and yatra, wherein. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva-guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Please repeat after me. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva-guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Purport. This is a true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. He speaks the true version of all the Vedas. as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyah. By studying all the Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna. One who has actually assimilated the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. He is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering the threefold miseries of this conditional world due to their not being Krishna conscious. A Brahmana should take pity on the people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into this universe from the spiritual kingdom to teach conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender unto him. Similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. After assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. The Brahmanas are very dear to the Supreme Lord due to their high sattva-guna qualities. And they also engage in welfare activities for all conditioned souls in the material world. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much for joining us today in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we are continuing reading the 5th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are discussing verse number 24. So for the last few verses, we have been seeing how Rishabhadev is actually Lord Rishabhadev, who is none other than an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. He is explaining the qualifications and qualities of a Brahmana. So yesterday we had a Diksha ceremony. Some of the devotees came forward to take Brahmana Diksha. So Brahmanas means they must be qualified like this. They must try to inculcate these qualities. And of course, unless they have been practicing and inculcated these qualities, they wouldn't be awarded this initiation. Brahmana initiation. So we have to try to strengthen ourselves in these qualities, especially which are mentioned here, because these are the qualities by which a Brahmana is identified, a Brahmana is known. It is not simply a rubber stamp that somebody is made a Brahmana simply by giving a thread to him. In fact, this is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, it is mentioned in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that people will think they are Brahmanas just by wearing a thread. So this thread has become like a, some certification that he is a Brahmana. So especially in so-called the Smarta Brahmana families, they do this Upanayana ceremony and he is given this thread, but in most cases we see how he does not make any inch of advancement even. There is nothing, no change of consciousness that is happening, nothing is happening at all. So, Brahmana means that one should be trained up in these qualities. So, Krishna is also talking about this in the Bhagavad Gita. Some of the same words are also used. Samodama tapas saucham shantirarjvam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. So, Brahmana, so this is in chapter 18, text 42. Into the shock, electric shock. How do you go to the function key here? No function keys. Function F2. So I'm sure every one of you know this verse, since it is same point that is being explained in by Lord Krishna also in the Bhagavad Gita. Shamo damas tapas shaucham shantirarjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. So the same qualities are being explained here by Krishna also: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So one must try to develop these qualities. So in this Varnashrama system, these 4 Varnas are there, and Brahmana is on the highest platform of, within the 3 modes of material nature. He is in Sattva Guna, so it is very conducive for entering into spiritual life, Krishna consciousness. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Guru Parampara Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this Sattva Guna, the mode of goodness, is most conducive for entering into spiritual life. But Krishna consciousness is so potent that even if one has not undergone any Brahminical training beforehand, if he takes up to the process of Krishna consciousness by chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, by following the 4 regulative principles, this immediately raises one to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. And he will automatically develop all these qualities which are mentioned here. So this we can see practically all around the world. We have so many different nationalities of people who are taking up to this Krishna consciousness movement, and they have been addicted to so many nonsensical activities in the past, and there wouldn't have been any scope for them to give these up if not for Krishna consciousness. As soon as they take up to this process of Krishna consciousness, they are immediately able to come to this platform of Shuddha Sattva, and they are no longer addicted to. That is, of course, if they sincerely follow the orders of the bona fide spiritual master. Only then they will be able to come to this platform. Others, we may see that for the time being, they may seem to be following something, but eventually they will fall away. So in the same canto, 5th canto, this verse also I'm sure all of you know, this point is explained that anyone who takes up to this process of Krishna consciousness will automatically develop these qualities. यस्यास्ति भक्तिर् भगवत्य किंचना सर्वैर्गुणैः सत्र समासते सुराः हराव भक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेन सति धावतो बहिः. So here it is explained that all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. So here these qualities are mentioned: religion, knowledge and renunciation. But actually a pure devotee develops especially 26 qualities. So as one progresses on this path of devotional service, these qualities will start to manifest. In Philippines, somebody was asking us, he read in the Nectar of Devotion these 26 qualities, and he was asking, oh, where can we get these 26 qualities, how to get? As if it is something that is a commodity, you can buy it in the shop or something in exchange for some money. This requires practice. This requires strong sadhana and sticking to the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. And automatically, one by one, these qualities will manifest. As we become more and more purified, these qualities will manifest. So therefore, we should just be focused on the process itself of Krishna consciousness. So all these become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. So that is the qualification. We should be focused on developing unalloyed devotional service. What is unalloyed devotional service? Alloy, as the word suggests, or as the word is defined, alloy means a mixture of two or more things, right? So unalloyed devotional service means devotional service which is not mixed with anything else. There is no material motive for practicing devotional service. So if one develops this unalloyed devotional service, that means pure devotional service, then for such a person, all these qualities will automatically be manifest. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So, if one does not become a Vaishnava, if he is simply interested in cultivating these good qualities, which are materially, from the material sense, they are better than the other lower base qualities. If one is simply interested in developing these so-called good qualities, that is still not sufficient, because he is still driven by his own mental speculations. So what may seem good for him today, again tomorrow it will no longer be good. So he is simply, driven by his own mental speculations that this is good and this is bad. So one must specifically engage in this process of devotional service in order to develop all these transcendental qualities. So there is also that verse which says, what is that? Mantra Tantra Visharadam. This is the first one. Shatkarma Nipuno Vipro. So Shatkarma, this Brahmana, basically he has 6 activities. What are the 6 activities of a Brahmana? Anyone? What are the 6 activities? Patan Pathan Yajan Yajan Dana Pratigraha. So Patan Patan, he thoroughly studies the Vedic scriptures, as it is explained in today's verse also. He studies thoroughly the Vedic scriptures, and Pathan, he also explains this to others. So this is the activity of a Brahmana. Brahmana should be engaged in this work of studying under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master and also educating others of this knowledge. What is the use if a Brahmana is simply, he gets the Brahmana Diksha, or, he's a so-called qualified Brahmana, but he's simply working as a Shudra and has no time for engaging in preaching activity. So he is not, being a Brahmana in work. So, as Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one must be a Brahmana in quality and work. So, Pathan Pathan, one should also educate others of this knowledge. Then, Yajan Yajan, then he conducts various different types of sacrifices for the benefit of the humanity at large. He conducts various sacrifices. And then Dana Pratigraha. Pratigraha means he begs alms from door to door. He does not he does not work under somebody to earn money in order to maintain his family or maintain himself. No. He he has complete faith on the Lord that the Lord will provide, and his duty is to beg alms. So he's not simply becoming a beggar going from door to door, Amma de, not like that, So what is he doing? He is taking this opportunity to actually preach to them. He has complete faith in the Lord. He has full faith in the Lord that the Lord will protect. But when he goes door to door, he takes the opportunity to preach to them. The householders, especially the householders, they need to be reminded, because there is a very good chance that they might drift away. There are so many items of sense gratification in a household. So it is very easy to drift away from Krishna consciousness. It is very easy to drift away from this practice of bhakti. So therefore, Brahmana and also brahmacharis, sannyasis, they are required to go from door to door and remind the householders, please do not waste this valuable human form of life. It is a very rare opportunity. Please make full use of it. So in this way, they have to be reminded. So a Brahmana also, pratigraha, he begs alms from door to door and he preaches this message. So one should not simply become interested in begging alms and accumulating all this wealth and living a lavish life. No, he also does dāna. So a Brahmana is a person who does not worry about what he is going to eat tomorrow, where he is going to sleep tomorrow. So when he begs alms, sometimes he may get excess. What does he do with all this excess money? Invest, is it? Fixed deposit. No. What does he do? Dāna. Again, give it back to the society in the form of prasadam distribution, books, all these things. So he gives back to the society. He doesn't keep. So he is not supposed to accumulate any wealth. And in this way, he lives a very simple life and engages himself 24 hours a day in Krishna's service. So Shat-karma. These Shat-karma, 6 activities even if he is doing, and he is a mantra-tantra visharada. He is a very expert in reciting shlokas and chanting verses and all that. Mantra tantra visharada. Avaishnava guru nasyad. If he is not a Vaishnava, if he is not a devotee, if he is simply engaged in the external activities of a Brahmana, but if he is not uplifting himself to the platform of a Vaishnava, then guru nasyad. He should not become a guru. He is not eligible to instruct others. Vaishnava Swapacho Guru. Swapacha means a dog eater. So, if a dog eater has come to the platform of a Vaishnava, again, how is a Vaishnava identified? By his behavior, by his qualities, by his activities. So, the behavior of a Vaishnava is, first of all, he doesn't associate with any worldly minded people or, women or those who are interested in women. He doesn't associate with them. This is the qualification of a Vaishnava. So, if one has come to this platform, although he may be born of a low-class family, of a dog-eater's family, he is eligible to become a guru. See? So, this is the qualification, that one must be an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, he may be engaged externally in all these activities of a Brahmana, but he is not progressing spiritually. So, here, especially in these set of verses, I think from 20 onwards we are reading about Brahmanas, or 21, where Lord Rishabhadeva started explaining that Brahmanas are, so dear, and that's why we also address Lord Krishna as what? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So he is everybody's well-wisher, right? He is what? Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the well-wisher of all living entities, but specifically in this verse, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. He is concerned about their welfare specifically. Brahmanas are extremely dear to Krishna because they are taking up the mission of the Lord. And what is the mission of the Lord in the material world? What does the Lord descend to the material world for? Oh, because he wants some variety, right? Variety, right? Why is he descending? Spiritual world is too boring. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya. So, he is coming to re-establish religious principles, and Brahmanas are also taking up that same work. They are giving up all their material comfort for the sake of taking up the mission of the Lord. So therefore, and as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 68 and 69, that there is no one more dear to him than he who preaches the message of the Lord. So Brahmanas have taken up this, or at least supposed to take up this work of preaching. This Brahminical culture and Brahminical population is somewhat dwindling due to the influence of this Kali Yuga, and this Krishna consciousness movement is the only hope, only ray of hope that there'll be some Brahminical culture. So Srila Prabhupada especially, he gave this whole program of daily activities in Krishna conscious life to elevate one to the level of a Brahmana specifically. Although Varnashrama, 4 Varnas are there, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are also there, but this Krishna consciousness movement is specifically interested in creating a section of first class men. First class men are the Brahmanas. And if this section of the society is absent, there is absolutely no guidance for the rest of the society. As we can see, so much chaos because the Brahmanas are not guiding the society. It is a bunch of Shudras who have come together, who are elected by the people of the country, who are all blind spiritually, and they are being glorified as rulers of state, and they themselves do not know how to run the state. And then under them there are also businesses, the Vaishya community. These so-called administrative class, they will sanction all sorts of sinful businesses. That is also predicted in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Business is simply based on what in the Kali Yuga? Deceit, cheating. The more you can cheat, the better cheater you are, the better businessman you are. You want to make good money in Kali Yuga through business, you cheat. So every form of business there is cheating. And this is being sanctioned by the government. You see? So if we have to come up with a solution for this entire reconstruction of the society, we need a massive population of the first class men, and Krishna consciousness movement is the only hope to create that first class men. Second class, third class and all will follow suit, but the first class are required. There is no other training that is going on for first class men. You see, so we can see how, especially here under the guidance of His Grace Sundar Prabhu and all the other Vaishnavas here, so many devotees are joining, they're taking Brahminical training and undergoing very strict training here. So all this sacrifice for what? Ultimately, those who are leading this whole movement against so many difficulties, what would they get in return? Nothing. So it is a very selfless service just to take part in the mission of the Lord. So this is actually the mood of a Vaishnava or a Brahmana, that he is very compassionate towards others. He tries to raise others to the platform of Brahminical culture or even Vaishnava. Vaishnava is actually way, way more superior to Brahmanas. So Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, they are supposed to be compassionate. Pathan, right? So they have to educate others. They may have the knowledge, but unless they take up this mission of educating others, they are actually not advanced spiritually. And in fact, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, as we always see this verse, it is explained that those who do not engage in this work of preaching, they are actually committing violence against other living entities. Just staying quiet is, it tantamounts to committing violence against other living entities. There's a very long purport. So you can see here, we have seen this verse several times before. So Madhya Leela chapter 12 text 135, this entire purport is actually very important, and here especially this particular word, the purport is being given, the word Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities. So Himsa, as we understand, is violence, right? So Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as paropakara, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic, but all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. So as we can see here, it is explained that it tantamounts to violence against other living entities if you do not preach. Why should they suffer? Everyone is suffering. We have all been suffering. But now at least we have access to the solution to this problem. So why should we see others suffering? Just a few days back, a few weeks, a few months, a few years back, we were exactly in the same place as they are. Somebody has helped us get to this stage. So now we should also similarly be very eager to help others. It is not that we are becoming proud that, oh, now I am very advanced and I'm here to save all of you. No. It is to actually purify ourselves also, because the more we speak about Krishna, the more we will remember. Right? That is the purpose of the tongue. What is the purpose of the tongue? Two functions are there, to vibrate and to taste. So you can vibrate for all sorts of prajalpa, which is already going on throughout the world. So devotee should specifically take up this mission of speaking the glories of Krishna everywhere. Especially nowadays with all the social media and all that, it has become very easy to reach out to masses of people. So every devotee, like we say in Philippines, everyone should go every Sunday when they come only on Sundays. Bhagavatam class is generally three of us there. So this is a big crowd for us in Bhagavatam class. So Sunday programs also is very, very small. So there we tell everyone that in order for us to expand, each of you must go and post whatever you learned. You go post on Facebook. Your Facebook has some 1,000 friends, 2,000 friends. You post. So 1,000, 2,000 people will see some Krishna conscious message. Facebook is being flooded with all sorts of nonsense anyway every day by so many people. So as devotees, you can simply post something that you have learned, one line also. Nowadays they put some status message, right? So you put some Krishna conscious status message. At least something is happening, and slowly you will develop this mood to preach, to share something new every day. So in this way you can spread the message and all that. So it is actually very easy, but we should just convince ourselves to do this for the Lord, for Krishna, because Krishna likes this. So devotional service means we want to become closer to Krishna, right? So we should do things that Krishna is fond of. So we must first of all find out what Krishna likes, and we have to do that. So it is being said here that anyone who does not do this, he is actually becoming irresponsible and committing violence against other living entities. So everyone must share something to others, neighbors, friends, so many things. In this way one must preach. So this is Brahmana. These qualifications of a Brahmana are being explained here, and Krishna is so fond of the Brahmanas that he is addressed as such. Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. First, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. First he wants their hit, their welfare. Then Jagad Hitaya, universal welfare. But Brahmanas and cows especially should be taken care of. So that also Prabhupada has introduced, Srila Prabhupada has introduced goshalas and all these things for protection of cows, and Brahminical culture has also been created. So this has to be maintained properly by thorough study of the scriptures. Everybody must read the books of Srila Prabhupada thoroughly, not just read, they must study. Study the books under the guidance of other senior devotees also, and properly, take down notes, jot down notes, and go back and study and try to, how much is spoon-fed here in His Grace Unagopal Prabhu's teaching. So much of, all these verses and all that are simply spoon-fed. When would we ever be accessing all these verses? Otherwise, if we are going through our own reading process, slowly, small baby steps at a time, when are we ever going to come to, all these verses which are being quoted? It'll take very, very long time, and to actually realize that and to actually connect it with the topic that is being discussed. So these are all being spoon-fed. So if you just take down these notes, and this is actually study of the scriptures. So the strong association is there, and in this way, if we can actually show some interest in studying, then naturally all these other qualities will develop. We will even develop the mood to preach and all these things. So this is very, very important. So let's come back to... So we have to thoroughly study and also make others recite, and in this way we will be able to remember better. Smaranam will happen when there is Shravanam and Kirtanam. Shravanam first we have to hear, and only then we will be able to do Kirtanam, and when these two things are happening nicely, then all these things can be remembered. But if we are simply interested in so-called memorization, and we don't actually apply it in preaching, and we don't use it even to train ourselves. See, philosophy, Krishna consciousness, and all these verses and all these things, why do we have to learn? Not to advertise ourselves as some big pandit or something. No, this actually helps a great deal in controlling our own mind also in times of extreme anxiety or something. When we can remember these verses, it will immediately calm down our mind. And also to preach to others. When we are preaching, we have to always learn how to... This is the austerity of speech, as it's explained in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 15. It says the austerity of speech means to speak only those which are upheld by the scriptures. Speak words or say something which are upheld by the scriptures. We must immediately be able to quote something. So that way, not only is it convincing for the other person, but it is very authoritative. Otherwise, if we can see in India, there are the so-called Brahminical class of people. Actually, I still recollect this incident very, very vividly. When we were in India in 2009, we were traveling in Srirangam. There, early morning we set out, because we wanted to go for some Mangalarti and all. Then we found out the temple opens at 6 o'clock. So all the devotees were up by 3:30, 4 o'clock. Then what to do? It's all very awkward, nobody is waking up. So all devotees woke up, we freshened up, and so His Grace Unagopal Prabhu suggested, let's go out for Nagar Sankirtan, So we went out, Nagar Sankirtan. And we were passing by the house of the so-called head priest of the Srirangam temple, who looked like a pious man, but like the Smartha Brahmana. So he was coming out of his house with a fresh, nice tilak and everything. This, big tilak, Sri Vaishnava tilak. He was coming out of the house at around 6:30. That means it's obvious that he just woke up a while. Just before that, maybe 6 o'clock, like that. Very fresh. He was coming out. We just finished Nagar Sankirtan. So we were passing by his house, and he was astonished to see all of us and chanting like this. So he asked, "Oh, where are you from?" and all this. So we said, "Oh, we are, a group of us from Singapore. We have come for pilgrimage and all this. So we are doing Nagar Sankirtan." He said, "Oh, very nice." So he was asking, "Oh, you are from Singapore. What are you doing?" So we we all said, Prabhu said, we are all full-time, we have dedicated our lives to this. And so that time Mahaprabhu was also there, he was a brahmachari, we were all brahmacharis at that time. So Prabhu pointed at us, they are young people, they have all given their life for Krishna. Then he was proudly saying, oh, this is my son. His son what was he doing? The head priest of Sri Rangam temple, So the son was just about to set out for work. He's a railway officer. He's working in Indian Railways. So government job, it's a very prestigious thing for the so-called head priest. So he said, oh, this is my son going to work. Then Prabhu immediately said, this is Shudra. This is not Brahmana. You are the head priest. You should have taught him. He is working like a Shudra, working for some money. This is not proper. This is not Brahminical culture. Then he thought for a while, and then he said, but who will feed our bellies, if we don't work? He was doing like this. So this is the kind of Brahmanas that are there. There is no faith even. They themselves don't have the faith. How are they going to teach others? That you surrender your life to Krishna, Krishna will take care of you. Where? So this is one of the steps of surrender. One of the items of surrender is Rakshishyatiti Vishvaso. To have complete faith that Krishna will protect you in all circumstances. That faith is not there. How would you want to call yourself as a Brahmana? Oh, who is going to feed our bellies? He's saying like this. Then Sundar Prabhu said, it went on. Actually, it was a rough morning for him, I think. So I don't know if he was able to concentrate on the worship for the rest of the day. It would have been playing in his mind. My son got called a Shudra, and all my knowledge, proved to be useless. So actually in the Mukunda Mala Stotra also, this verse is there. I think the 21st verse, where it is, in a humorous way, it is explained that all the so-called learning, you may recite the Vedas, all the Sri Vaishnavas, they get together and they chant in perfect chorus and all that. Right, but where is the realization? Where is the application of knowledge and of all these things? So Mukunda Mala Stotra, it is explained very nicely that all this so-called Vedic recitation and all that, if you don't, how to go to that? You can type, Mukunda Mala Stotra. So in this verse you can see, Amnaya Abhyasananya Ruditam. So, Aranya Ruditam. Aranya means forest. Ruditam means what? We are singing in Damodarashtaka, right? Rudantam muhur netra yugmam rajant. Crying, Ruditam. So, Aranya Ruditam means what? Crying in the forest. What is that? Who is crying in the forest? Amnaya Abhyasananya Ranya Ruditam. It is explained here. All glories to Lord Narayana. Without remembrance of his lotus feet, recitation of scripture is merely crying in the wilderness. You may be reciting Om Sahasra Sirsha Purusha, all perfect meter, everything, wonderful. Of course, we also he recites very well. Purusha Sukta, yesterday we had. But this is with realization and with practical application, it is being done for the Lord. But we can see these so-called Brahmanas, they have these Gurukuls also nowadays. There are so many videos surfacing on YouTube of this, mantra recitation by South Indian Vaishnava Brahmanas, the Sri Vaishnavas. Okay, very good, nice. But without remembrance of his lotus feet and without, proper surrender, this recitation of scripture is merely crying in the wilderness. And this entire verse is actually a little bit humorous. Regular observance of severe vows enjoined in the Vedas is no more than a way to lose weight. Oh, I'm doing Ekadashi fasting, Prabhu, today. What are you doing, Ekadashi fasting? And what are you doing? Just nothing. Just, I should not eat. That means it is not being done. Why we follow Ekadashi? We reduce eating, sleeping to do what? To engage more in the service of the Lord, right? So if we are not doing that, simply I'm fasting. Like this one of our Matajis who came from Philippines, she was saying, in India mein to sab follow karte hain Ekadashi. 80% लोग फॉलो करते हैं एकादशी. 80% people are following Ekadashi in India. Really? What kind of Ekadashi they are following, you know? Shivratri also very common, right? What do? I had friends, you know, Shivratri. What they did? Jagaran. They stay up all night. Drinking party, watching movies. Ekadashi also same thing. They follow Ekadashi, yeah, they don't eat, okay, they know. But do they engage in any devotional activity? 80%, the percentage also, statistics she was telling. 80% of Indian population is following Ekadashi. 50% I think is Muslims in India. They are all following Ekadashi. So, this is not true. And even if they are somehow, some Ekadashi they following, they don't know the purpose that it is being done for Krishna. To engage more in Krishna service. Other days, eating, sleeping, so much time is going. 8 hours you may take out. 8 to 10 hours eating and sleeping you can take out from 24 hours. So, reduce even that. And engage in Krishna service. So, that is not being done. So, that sort of so-called observance of severe vows enjoined in the Vedas is no more than a way to lose weight. Yeah, you will be very nice and fit. But it's just that. There's no other benefit you're getting from it. Execution of prescribed pious duties is like pouring oblations onto ashes. Yesterday we had fire. In fire you put ghee. This fire is the mouth of the Lord, right? So he accepts all these offerings when they are poured. But if ashes, you're putting everything into ashes, is there any use? No use. So all the so-called yajnas and all that they do, you know, for bringing about some so-called peace. Oh, my house is all messed up. You know, there is some disturbance. So please do some homa. You know, some yajna. They do, and then anything changes? Nothing changes. So this is like pouring oblations onto ashes. No use. And bathing at various holy sites is no better than an elephant's bath. Because as soon as they come back from the holy place, what do? Again, do the same sinful activity, same karma kanda, same nonsense. So there is no purification happening. That purification will happen only by engaging in devotional service. So a Brahmana or a Vaishnava, he educates others. So don't waste your time simply. Of course, these things, again, it is explained here in 11, is it in 11.6, is it? As long as one has not come to the platform of devotional service, somehow or the other, it is okay to be engaged in the activities of the mode of goodness. So first of all, one must be aware of what is in the mode of goodness, what is in the mode of passion, what is the mode of ignorance, and what are the kind of qualities that you develop by engaging in all these things. So it is explained that there are, I think, 10 different things, is it, that determine our position, whether we are in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. So if we can be particular to avoid, especially those in the mode of passion and ignorance, which take us downward, if we can avoid that voluntarily, even if we are not yet engaged in devotional service, at least slowly we will get there. Because as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhridavratah. Those who have acted piously in their previous lives and those who have completely eradicated all their sinful activities, they can engage themselves in devotional service with determination. That means some piety. So piety can bring two things. One is Janmaishwarya Shuddha Shribhi, the material benefits. The other kind of piety can bring you to devotional service. So somehow or the other, if devotional service is, oh, maybe you don't have access, maybe you don't know, at least one must come to the platform of Tattva Guna. So this is explained here. Is it in 11.6? Not this, huh? No, not this. Where is that? 11? 13, huh? Sorry. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, The three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, pertain to material intelligence and not to the spirit soul. By development of material goodness, one can conquer the modes of passion and ignorance, and by cultivation of transcendental goodness, one may free oneself even from the material goodness. Okay, so, if we are not putting any effort, as several times we heard in these classes, if we are not putting any effort, naturally we go where? Downwards. Any object you take, you don't put any effort, you don't use any strength, which way will it go? It will go downwards. If you just leave it, it is not going to stay up, it is not going to go upward, it will go downwards. Gravity will pull it down. Similarly, if we don't put any effort, automatically it will go down. So falling down is not easy. I mean, it's not difficult, it's very, very easy. Falling down is the easiest thing to do. But to stay up and to uplift oneself, that requires effort. Many times devotees are accused, you have taken an escape route. Very easy thing, nothing to do, simply chant only. No, this requires the most effort. Their life is actually like that, nothing to do, very easy to fall down. No effort at all. So, there is always this competition is happening without, if there's no effort, sometimes mode of passion is becoming prominent, as Krishna explains in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. There's always competition for supremacy. Sometimes mode of goodness, mode of passion. Sometimes you feel very good, sometimes you feel very enthusiastic, and then suddenly you're feeling very down and out. So this competition is always happening. So one has to constantly do only those things which are in the mode of goodness in order to conquer passion and ignorance. Right? So this is explained here by cultivation of the mode of goodness. Then in the next verse, when the living entity becomes strongly situated in the mode of goodness, then religious principles characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. So this is the piety that leads us to devotional service. When one accumulates large amounts of piety, there is a good chance that he can become eligible to enter devotional service. So then religious principles characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. One can strengthen the mode of goodness by cultivation of those things that are already situated in goodness, and thus religious principles arise. So we must know thoroughly well. So this is why study of the Bhagavad Gita, if you simply study the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you will know what are those things in the mode of goodness, what are those things in the mode of passion, what are those things in the mode of ignorance. So if you can simply avoid those in the mode of passion and ignorance and simply cultivate those things or practice those things which are in the mode of goodness, that will elevate you. Then, thus religious principles arise. Then, I think it's 11:13:6, right, where it says that until one has come to the platform of devotional service. Anyway, we'll get there. Religious principles strengthened by the mode of goodness destroy the influence of passion and ignorance. When passion and ignorance are overcome, their original cause, irreligion, is quickly vanquished. So, when we are reading this, it may seem like, oh, what is all this? So many words, what ignorance, passion, what, all these things. So, of course, all this can be made very easy when we simply surrender to the Guru, Acharya, the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. When we simply surrender unto him, all these things will automatically be solved, and one can immediately come to the platform of, we'll go to that verse later on, but first we'll see these things. So how this, mode of passion and ignorance can be conquered. And then according to the quality of, so these are the 10 items which determine whether, in which mode one is situated in. According to the quality of religious scriptures, water, one's association with one's children or with people in general, the particular place, the time, activities, birth, meditation, chanting of mantras, and purificatory rituals, the modes of nature become differently prominent. So the place where you're residing, the water that you're taking, the food that you're taking, all these things determine the state of your consciousness. So that's why we have to so strictly follow these principles of not eating anywhere outside. Oh, it's okay, vegetarian, Buddhist food. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. So all these things, we are actually absorbing consciousness, as we always taught that even if you simply walk through a sinful place, you have not engaged in a sinful place, simply walk through, breathe some air from there, take some water, something, you're still going to be implicated by the sin. So it is very, very subtle how this happens, but it will immediately change our consciousness. So there was one, I think one so-called very senior ISKCON devotee, I don't know, he was making a mockery of himself or what, but he was saying that for almost 20 years he did not eat any outside food, and so his mind became very, very sensitive, extremely sensitive. So suddenly, due to some circumstance or something, after 20 years of sticking to prasadam diet, he went and ate something that was not even offered, not even any devotee offered, nothing. Some completely bhoga, some food outside, some street food or something. And he was saying that immediately he could not chant even. Why did that desire even come to go and test some street food? So he was actually wanting to brag about himself. He was trying to glorify himself, that his mind is so sensitive. But actually the truth came out that he went and ate outside. That means he doesn't have the determination to, stick to this prasadam diet. So he, in the process of trying to glorify himself, he actually made a mockery out of himself. You see? So he was saying that he was not able to chant, and after that. But yes, if one is not able to, follow these principles of devotional service properly, one should immediately do a self-check. Oh, what went wrong? What did I do? That is affecting my consciousness in this way. But not that one must willingly go and eat everything outside. So one must stick to all these things, and one's association, one's, the particular place where we are living, the time, everything. All these things actually matter. So if we can know, even just by the study of Bhagavad Gita, you can very easily understand all those 10 things in the mode of goodness, where we can get that. And if we can simply keep ourselves situated in those things, at least there is some scope for elevation, and eventually we will become eligible to access this Krishna consciousness. So among the 10 items I have just mentioned, the great sages who understand Vedic knowledge have praised and recommended that those that are in the mode of goodness, praised and recommended. So these things you do, the sages have said, the great sages, criticized and rejected those in the mode of ignorance, and shown indifference to those in the mode of passion. You see, so they are recommending those in the mode of goodness, so which are good, which are conducive. So in the next verse, it says that until one has come to the point of devotional service, one must at least be engaged in these, until one revives one's direct knowledge of the spirit soul and drives away the illusory identification with the material body and mind caused by the three modes of nature. One must cultivate those things in the mode of goodness. By increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice religious principles, and by such practice, transcendental knowledge is awakened. You see? So in this way, one makes gradual progress towards the ultimate goal of life, which is to develop love towards Krishna, revive our lost connection with Krishna. And in this way, one's human life becomes successful by this Brahminical culture. Brahminical, that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has called it Daivi Varnashrama system. Not simply this Asurika Varnashrama system, simply, rubber stamp them as, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and all that. No. Daivi Varnashrama system means dovetail with Krishna's service. Everybody is engaged in Krishna's service, and in this way, with Krishna in the center, one leads his life, performing all the different duties, and in this way, this is the way to please the Lord. Varnashramacharvata purushena parahuman Vishnur aradhyate pantha nanyat tattosha karanam. So this is all done for the supreme satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So if that center focus is forgotten, what is the use of maintaining this whole structure? So therefore that is recommended. One has to follow this very seriously, and then one can become very dear to Krishna. Of course, I'm sure all of us want to become dear to Krishna. So in order to do that, it is very easy. Krishna is giving all the hints in the Bhagavad Gita and all these verses in the Bhagavatam, what we are required to do. It is all very clearly mentioned here. So if we can simply cultivate these things, inculcate these qualities, automatically we become dear to Krishna. And especially when one is initiated, it is even more easier. That verse which we just missed out, 7:15-25. So this whole control of situation in different modes is explained here as a very simple process. Rajastamascha sattvena sattvam chopasamena cha etat sarvam gurau bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayet. So anjasa means very easily. It can be easily done. So one must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. So we have seen those 6 verses from the 13th chapter of the 11th canto, how one can cultivate the mode of goodness and defeat the mode of passion and ignorance in that way. And then here it says, then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. Why is it important to detach oneself from the mode of goodness also? Material mode of goodness has contamination of passion and ignorance? No, because material mode of goodness is not good enough. In the material world, it may be considered the best, but that doesn't mean it's the ultimate. In a bunch of rotten stuff, if you take out one thing and say that this is better than the others, that doesn't mean this is the best. So actually in the material world, everything is bad. Even mode of goodness. Why mode of goodness is also not good enough, why it is bad, is because it can only promote us to the heavenly planets. From where we again, Kshine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. It doesn't take us to the supreme abode of Krishna. Mode of goodness doesn't get us there. Mode of goodness is like Tattva Prabhu explained this example of how to board a flight to whatever destination you want to go to, what is the most conducive place to board the flight? Can you expect the flight to arrive at your house? Oh, the flight has arrived. No. What is the most conducive place for you to be to board the flight? Airport. So, if you are sitting at home and expecting the flight to come, you're in the mode of ignorance. It's not going to come. So, if you're somewhere within the same city, it's not going to come. You have to be in the airport. So, mode of passion and ignorance are not conducive. You're not going to be able to get onto the flight going to the destination. Airport is the best place to be. But if you think that, oh, now I'm at the airport, I'll get to the destination. No. You have to run, you have to go through the security check, you have to go through all this thing, get to the boarding gate and wait at the boarding gate. Don't sleep at the boarding gate. So you have to board the flight. So that is the most conducive place to be, but that is not enough. Oh, I'm at the airport. How come I didn't get to the destination? No. Be at the airport and still do the required things. And then once you get onto the flight, then it will get you to the... So even getting into spiritual life is like getting onto the flight. That is also still not sufficient. Of course, Krishna is also reciprocating, that is there. And bhakti is such a potent process that it will definitely get us across, as it is explained in the Mukundamala Stotra again, verse number 12. Bhakti is very, very potent. So we should not, we should convince our mind, don't take any strain. Why are you taking so much strain thinking that, oh, it is very difficult, I may not be able to get across the ocean of material existence. Don't take that much strain. Bhakti is there, it's so potent, it will help you across. It will help you get across. So this is a very nice verse actually. Bhavajalade magadham dustaram nistareyam kathamaham cheto masmaga kataratvam sarasijadrishi deve taraki bhaktireka naraka vidhinishanna tarayashatyavashyam. Here it is explained, dear mind, do not bewilder yourself by anxiously thinking, how can I cross this fathomless and impassable ocean of material existence. So many a times we think like that, right? Oh, what is this? It's just so difficult to cross. How am I going to get across? Right? It always feels like that. So this beautiful verse from the Mukundamala Sutra, it is being composed very nicely. King Kulashekara is saying that, dear mind, why are you worrying? Nothing to worry. Don't think like this. There is one who can save you. What is that? Devotion. This process is so powerful that it can immediately attract Krishna towards us. Krishna Akarshani, right? So it attracts Krishna towards you. By engaging in this process is so, that's why Srila Prabhupada would say that do not be very eager to see Krishna. Act in such a way that Krishna will become eager to see you. And what is that? Devotion. Engage in devotional activities and Krishna will immediately notice you. So there is one who can save you, devotion. If you offer her to the lotus-eyed Lord, the killer of Narakasura, she will carry you across this ocean without fail. So there's nothing to worry. So, but although this bhakti is very, very potent and it will help us get across, we cannot be very relaxed. Oh, bhakti, I'm already in bhakti will get across. I'm going to be there soon. No. So this example is very nice actually, just like in a flock of birds. I don't know if you have seen, large flocks of birds flying. There will be one leader bird, right? So they go in a spearhead formation like this. There will be one leader bird and everybody is following. So now if the follower bird thinks that, oh, I have the perfect leader, what a leader, huh? Superb, wonderful leader. I'll get there. I'll stop flapping my wings. I'll stop flapping. I'll get the leader will get me across. Just like we have Srila Prabhupada. Oh, wonderful guru, best guru. And then we have our Shiksha guru, Sundagopal. Oh, superb, huh? What lecture, wonderful, very senior devotee. I'll get across. No need to follow anything. I'll stop flapping my wings. I'll stop chanting my rounds. I'll stop all these things. I'll just they will help me get across. Nobody is going to help you get across. You have to flap. Yes, the instructions will be there. Guidance is there. But if you don't take guidance, if you don't go according to the instructions, where is there any scope for getting across? So that is important. We have to flap the wings. That means we have to do everything right to the best of our ability and leave the rest to Krishna. Let Krishna decide whatever he wants. So in this way, it is explained here that it is very easy. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. And then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. All this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. You see, although it was otherwise seeming very, very difficult, oh, what is this competition? Oh, how do I control? How do I do this? Just take one guru, bona fide guru, surrender unto him completely. Not one guru means some guru, Srila Prabhupada. Become, just like Srila Prabhupada is a bona fide guru, we must also become bona fide disciples in order to become the right recipient of the mercy of the entire chain of disciplic succession. Simply some formal connection is not what is going to save us. We have to very strictly adhere to the principles and instructions given by all our acharyas and coming down to our beloved spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. If we follow this to the best of our ability, then they will take charge. So in this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. So simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one can rest assured that Krishna is satisfied. So if one wants to become dear to Krishna, simply do what the Guru has asked you to do. That's all. No need to think whether, Krishna, this service is reaching Krishna or not, whether he is pleased or not. He's definitely pleased if you are doing it under proper guidance. But if we independently do something without any authority, simply independently function, Krishna does not like that. Therefore he says, Ye me bhakta janaha partha na me bhaktascha te janaha mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas te me bhakta tamamataha. Those who call themselves my devotees, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Those who call themselves as my devotees, they are not my devotees. Rejected class. They are not my devotees. If they are really my devotees, they would never come to me directly. They would only go through my devotee, another devotee. You choose them. So like Srila Prabhupada and other, senior Vaishnavas. So we have to go through them. This is what pleases Krishna the most. So if we try to supersede or we try to jump over the authority and we act independently, very quickly we can see that everything will become shattered and our whole spiritual life is in a mess. When we try to do something independently, I know better, I think I know better. I think I must do like this. No, we should always consult the authority. We can see how in the case of Jada Bharat also, in the case of Bharat Maharaj also, how he climbed to the platform of even Bhava stage. Usually we study what Nishta means. Then there is no more flickering, there is no more, shaking. Nishta means already fixed up. But Bhava stage, which is just below Prema stage, from that stage he still fell down. And why did he fall down? Just because he did not consult his spiritual master. Rishabhadeva's son, the Supreme Lord's son, who is such an exalted devotee, who received all these instructions, still, what happened? Fell down. Why? Because did not consult the spiritual master. So, when we come across or when we encounter such situations, it may be small or big, it is always safe. It is better to be safe than to be sorry. And the safer approach is to consult. I'm, in this sort of a fix. What should I do? What is the most ideal thing to do? How do I get out of this? Consult. Instead of trying to think that I'm capable of making a decision, it is always better to be safe than to be sorry. So safer approach is this. Consult. So we are very fortunate that we have so much of association here. So many devotees are there whom we can consult, and they're very approachable, they're very easy to approach. So in this way one must always consult and work under the authority of other senior Vaishnavas. Tad bhritya bhritya bhrityascha bhrit, what is that? Bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya paricharaka bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti mam Lokanatha. So we should always try to be servant of the servant. We should always see, here's a very exalted devotee. So now who is the one who is serving him very closely, and okay, let me go and serve him. So in this way we will advance very quickly, and Krishna likes this very much. Whether we like it or not, Krishna likes it, and that is what matters. So we should immediately be willing to do that. So in this way we can advance very quickly and transcend even the stage of Brahminical platform and come to the platform of Vaishnava. So Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur had given a very, very powerful discourse on this topic of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So there's a whole, speech that he gave, and all the Brahmanas, of course, he did it in a very tactful way, where he first of all glorified all the Brahmanas and, naturally, if you glorify anybody, what will happen? Their heart softens. After that, whatever you say, they will listen. Right? So these Brahmanas were all glorified, and then he explained the importance of Vaishnavas, how Vaishnavas are so exalted. I think on Bhaktivinoda Thakur disappearance day also we had a similar presentation of the position of Vaishnavas. So this is to be understood very clearly, and we should always have the greatest respect for the Vaishnavas. As we know, offending Vaishnavas can cause a very sudden cliff fall from our spiritual life. Very soon we'll find ourselves at the bottom. So we should try to avoid this and always deal with Vaishnavas in a very careful way. We should be very mindful of what we are saying and what we are doing, and so these should be kept in mind. So in this way we can advance very, very quickly, and we can attain our desired goal of life, which is to attain the love of Godhead. So with this, I'd like to stop you for today. If anyone of you have any questions, comments, clarifications, or doubts, you may ask. Yes, bro.
Is water, generally there is no sin associated with consuming water. But like, how does this taking water affect? Now, if there is some sinful activity associated with something, if we take it, then consciousness there is a change, because naturally there is a tendency to commit sinful activity. But then, speaking about water, Prabhupada once mentioned that even like in restaurants and all, even taking water is not good. But how applicable is this? I mean, how do we understand this?
Yes, so the place also, right? The place and the people who are offering this. So that is also determining the. It is not simply the object or the particular thing. It is the place from where you're taking it. So it is definitely there are no restaurants where there are no sinful activities happening. So why should we? I mean, if we can just carry a bottle of water and drink water anywhere, what is the big difficulty in carrying that? So best is to avoid. We absorb the vibrations of that place, the consciousness of that place, and it will have a huge impact. Really, is there anything you might want to add regarding this?
Only water, alcohol means alcohol. It's more than the drink and more than drink and more passion. So alcohol means any water which is full of bubbles called contaminated. Water, when you put some reaction from neither wanted to give a seed away. So the land took some sins in order to combat. So it got wherever land is dark, it will fill. But some part of the land became better. So similarly, water to some benefit that you can expand in any container you put it in. But the reaction of it is that it becomes contaminated because of bubbles. So we say water, if you drink water with bubbles, we are drinking contaminated. And then it's like you're drinking water, gassy water.
All the aerated drinks.
It's more of, you want to know how you get it. Even alcohol is also alcohol. Prabhupada explained Rasoham Apsukamte.
If one can think of Krishna while drinking alcohol, he'll be purified. I think a lot of people will subscribe to that in the Philippines. I want to drink alcohol and remember Krishna. There are already a lot of them doing it there. Even the soft drinks.
Food is not in the tent. Because the food also contains water.
Yeah. For yeah, no food.
Food also has water.
Yeah.
In this verse, the quality of religious scriptures mentioned, that is what the kinds of Puranas, Tamasic, scriptures in the mode of goodness.
In Puranas, there are in 3 modes.
Even like other scriptures, Bible, Quran.
And even any literature, right? Sex literature, all this ignorance, mode of ignorance, and all that. So if anyone is drawn towards those things, that means their consciousness mode of. All right. So anything else? Nothing else. We'll stop here for today. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.